Hello my dear class 9 students, welcoming you all to our English class once again. Even today we will be continuing with what we have stopped in our previous class, that is a simple philosophy. We will continue from page number 111 till 115. We will see how the red Americans consider this development to be insult to the ears. You know what is an insult? And so when the white man thinks that they are achieving something great by developing their cities and their towns, the red men did not consider it that way. They thought that these developments are an insult. Why? Because the clatters, the sounds created by the cities and the industries gives a lot of disturbances to the people, and that is the reason why they think if our developments cannot bring peace to us, what is the point there? That is what they wanted to clarify it to the white men, because as we know, they have sent a letter requesting the chief to sell their land to him. And so this is a continuation of what his reply was. This chief replied in a very diplomatic and systematic way that he was trying to let the whites, the so-called advanced group of people, to know that these developments are nothing when we cannot have the peace of mind through these developments. They were trying to develop their cities in the places where these red Americans or the red Indians lived, and they did not want to party with it. As I've told you, they have a strong connection and emotional connection with this particular land that they lived. They believe that their forefathers and their grandfathers' spirits still live in these places, and they did not want to sell it. And also, as we already know, ownership of land cannot be claimed by human beings alone, because we are just a strand in the web. Strand, let me tell you, if you are trying to wave a piece of cloth, you have seen some of your aunties and your mothers waving at home, right? And so with all the strands of wool put together, they weave the cloths that we use. And so he considers that human beings are just a strand there in the web of development or in the web of nature, because we depend on animals depends on plants, and then these things go on. And that is the reason why we have to know that we don't have ownership, we are just a part of it. If we have ownership, so also the same with the animals. They should also have ownership over this land. But they did not understand this real meaning, and that was the reason why the chief wanted to explain everything to them through this letter. He said, what is development if one cannot hear the sound of the whippoorwill? And this tree is the state tree of the American. And so he wanted to let them know the tree which they consider to be a very important tree in their life, if they cannot hear the tree opening the buds or the leaves trying to sprout out, there is no point of development. If what you consider to be very important is at risk or is a danger. And that is the reason why he wants to question them. And also he said that all these developments should bring peace and comfort in one's life, instead of constructing railway tracks, and instead of trying to bring all these developments, because in the process of this development, what happens is the animal lives are at danger. They are disturbed. And he said, what is the point if you are going to shoot at a buffalo who is just running around, and you wanted to protect a horse? What is the difference between these two animals? They have equal lives and equal breath, and that is the reason why we should value all animals together. And the red man also considers the train to be a black smoking horse. What is there to bring a black smoking horse and destroy the rest of the wildlife and the creatures that lives in the forest? And he did not understand all this. He wants to let everyone know the real meaning of what he feels about nature and what nature really means to us. It is not just about his feeling, okay? It is not just about the feeling that he had for nature, but it is his understanding. And also, it is the fact that he wanted to show it to these people, because they are so engrossed in their work of development that they do not see beyond that. They do not see anything beyond that. And that was the reason which worried him the most. And we will also see the interconnection of man with animals. And we will also come across a phrase or a statement which says, whatever befalls the sons of man befalls the earth, and this is an interconnection. Whatever, and he also used it in another way, whatever befalls the creatures on the land befalls human beings. The writer here, the chief here, wants to convey the message that even if we are struggling to gain things for ourselves, that would be meaningless if we are hurting the creatures and the plants around us. That is one thing he really wanted to let these people know. As I've said, they were already so engrossed with their thoughts of development that they do not understand that they were risking their own lives at these developmental works. And he said, if you are cutting down the plants and trees, we also, even in this present context, we also can understand this. If we are just destroying the forest for our needs, we are putting our lives at risk. Because one day there will come a time when it is difficult for us to breathe oxygen freely, or for any matter we depend on nature and the plants that we have. The food that we take are also all a part of nature. If we just keep destroying all these things for the construction of cities, for building our houses, for building the industries, as we know, if you want to start an industry, you cannot just start from a small plot of land, right? And so these things continues, and then for constructing an industry, you know that the air gets polluted, the water gets polluted, the soil gets polluted because of the waste that is emitted from the industries. And also we need space for the workers, we need space for the machineries. And when all these things come, we unintentionally or intentionally can harm the environment, which in turn affects us again. And the writer here, that is the chief, also states that whatever we are doing all comes back to us in some way, and that will be done very quickly. That is the reason why he did not want to sell this part of land. It is not because he considers that they have ownership over this land, or it is not because his forefathers had been living in this part of the land for so long that they were the owners now. He did not consider it that way, but he says that the land belongs to everyone, to every creature, and human being is just a part of it. How can we sell something that we do not have ownership of? Unlike the mentality of the white man, he says that there is no one who can have control over this land or over this nature, because the mother earth, he considers earth to be their mother, and he considers the plants and animals to be his siblings, brothers and sisters. And that is the reason why he did not understand how a person can ask for a land to buy, or how a person can sell out land which is not his. It is not his property. That was one point that he wanted to make it very clear. And then he also did not understand the point where the white man said that he will give protection, he will give a reserve for the tribals, where if he is given this land. And he says that we will protect you and we will provide for anything that you need. And he says, maybe God favors you more than us. He's trying to mock them in a sarcastic way, making fun of them in this way. So he says that if God had given you more powers, we will accept that. Maybe he had blessed you with machineries and weapons. And we know if we do not sell it to you, your God may also punish us. He did not literally mean this. He is just trying to make fun of his idea, because the whites considers themselves to be superior than the tribals here. Though they were the native, they were almost vanishing. Their tribes were almost vanishing. And so the whites consider themselves to be superior than everyone else. But the red man did not see things in this way. Because he knew very well that God loves everyone equally. And even for a small child, now if I ask a small child, he or she will also say the same thing. God loves everyone equally. But the white man is so engrossed in his own thought that he is superior than everyone else. He also gives assurance of security and protection to someone whom he do not have authority of. And here this chief says that he did not want to sell, but he had to sell, but he also made an agreement. Your children have to be taught to learn how to love nature. We will sell it to you. because that is out of compulsion. But you have to make sure that your children were taught properly in the way they should handle the earth, the mother earth, carefully, not to destroy it in your own selfish motives. This is what he had been telling the whites again and again. It is not in just one sentence. And he said that we have to learn how to live and care for mother earth, for nature. And he also said that your children do not play with our children. Why? Because they consider that they are at a higher level where they cannot come down to a place where these tribals live or where these tribals think. And he also considers themselves savage. You know, a savage, a person who is wildly behaved or who is not well mannered. We call savage in so many different ways. It has got different meanings. And so the white man considers the red man to be savage. And so he also admits, we are savage. We do not understand your ways. We do not understand your ways of advanced thinking. But we know for sure that it is our duty to protect this nature, because it will always turn back to human in some other ways. And that is the reason why he's saying, though we are savage, he's just trying to make him understand that even though they were considered to be savage, he did not care about it, because whatever he says, the white man will not accept it. But even if we are savages, we know how to protect nature. We know what the future holds for us. Because if our actions are reckless or careless, we know that those things will come back to us, affect us in a negative way. And that was the point that he wanted to make it very clear. And you also say, what is the point if we cannot roam around the meadows and get the smell of the scented flowers and also the scented plants? If we cannot hear the streams flowing down, the sparkle in the stream reflects the shadows of our grandfathers, of our grandparents. This is what he had been telling them again and again. And also, we will see that this chief Settle, who was considered to be backward by this white man, is far ahead of them in his ways of thinking. And we are now experiencing this, right? We now, all the scientists and every environmentalist are coming up with the idea of environmental protection. In those days, when no one was coming up with this, and when industrialization was considered to be a boost, a pride for a particular country, this chief had in mind of what is to come ahead of him. He wanted to protect the environment and pass it to the next generation that is behind him. So we see the farsightedness of what this chief had been thinking. Though he had not experienced all these things, yet he knew that the future will be in danger or at risk if they sell this land, this particular land, to the white man. There's no problem for him to sell it if he knew that this white man will take care of it. But he knew very well of their motives and intentions of what this white man will do to the land. So he had to sell it. These are some things that he had made it very clear. And so we know his words never said. In the beginning of our chapter here, he said that my words are like the stars which will never set. And we have seen this. After hundreds of years, we are still studying his words, and which is becoming more important day by day in our daily lives. We are very far away from where this chief lived, but we are also experiencing of what he said. And that is taken to be an advice for each and every one of us. Why this lesson is included for class 9 syllabus, I want you to know this. It is because it is the role of the student to protect the environment now. Because after a few years, a lot of you or a lot of us will come up and start our work. And in this developmental process, you may also, or you might also make some mistake like the white man had been doing. And that is the reason why the board has included this in our syllabus, for us to understand the importance of environmental protection and environmental conservation. This is what we have to keep in our mind. Sometimes we think that we're still young, or we think that we're still too young, or that is none of our business to care for the environment. Our work is to study. If that is in your mindset, I would want you to change it. The reason for us reading this would be in vain if we do not take it into practice. it is very important for each and every one of us to know that we should protect the environment in your best possible way. I'm not asking you to go and start conserving a forest, which will be out of your capability maybe for now. Because I'm sure by now, none of you will have a plot of land for yourself. It's still under your parents' authority or under your parents' ownership. But what we can do is, we can always try to keep our environment clean. How? It can be in avoiding throwing of sweet wrappers around when you go to school. That is what I always keep telling to my students. I'm telling you once again. On your way to school, what if you pick 2-3 bottles of plastic water bottles or mineral water bottles and dump it into the dustbin? Or if I do not know whether all of you will do this or not, if you can just collect the plastic waste and you can even sell it out, not necessarily to make money, but also to conserve the environment. This is what we have learned from this story. And then this chief also told the white man that there is a common destiny. That means everyone will end up in the same place after some years, or after life maybe. And so he said that even if you consider yourself to be superior than us, okay, fine, we accept that and we also admit that. But there will be a time when we have to come to a common place. Even though your God loves you more than us, if you think it that way, there will be a place where everyone will come together and you will realize that we are all at an equal level. He reminded them very strongly of this. And then we will touch the author a little bit. It is a normal way to start about the author at the beginning of the story, but for this story I've kept it at the conclusion because I want you to know this after we have read the whole lesson. This chief was a great chief. He went for war in order to protect the environment, or in order to protect the land that was inherited by his forefathers since time immemorial. The white came for it, so he waged war, a huge war against the so-called advanced group of people. And as expected, they did not win the war. With all the machineries, you can just imagine, with all the tanks and whatever modern machineries and weapons available, the whites came with all those things because they have already waged a war against them. This group of people, the tribals, went for war with simple machineries and simple weapons, but he did not win the war literally. The war was won by the whites, but they began to understand the importance of his word, and that is the reason why even after his defeat, he was captured by the whites. In fact, he was captured, but they know how great this person was, and they also named a city called the city of Seattle in America because they got to understand his views. They got to understand that whatever he said was of much importance to the whole of the world and not only America. So Chief Seattle's name was named after a city. His name was given for a particular city. Though the spelling had changed a little bit, you will still see that there is a city named after him. And so even the whites did not declare that he won the war, but in their minds and in their hearts, he was the real warrior and he was the real hero, or else they would not have named a city after this chief. And so through this story, I want all my dear students to know that it is our duty as a student, as a young individual, to start working for our environment, because it will be back to us after some years if we just use the resources carelessly and if we just keep on polluting without thinking that it's our duty. Do not leave everything to the government or to the municipality. It is also your duty, because we live in a place where things will come back to us. So I want all of us to keep this in your mind, and the lesson that we have learned, if you follow this wisely, one day you will be a hero for yourself, may not be for the whole world. So let's all start working for the conservation of our environment. Thank you.